So last time we talked about some characteristics of fingerprints and what a fingerprint is. So today we're going to actually get into the types of ridge patterns. So there are three main types of fingerprints: loops, arches, and whorls. Loops are the most popular, with 65% of the total population of people having mostly loops on their fingers. Arches are the least popular, only 5%, and whorls are in between. So looking at a loop. A loop is a print pattern in which the ridge lines enter from one side, curve up and around, and exit on the same side. So if you look at the one that is highlighted, like I said, it starts on one side, it loops up, curves around, and it exits the same side. Okay, that's how you know it's a loop. Kind of looks like a lasso. Same thing with this one. And you're looking at the centermost part of the print. So starting at the center, follow one of the ridge lines, it loops up, around, and back out the same side. There are two types of loops: a radial loop and an ulnar loop. So you have to consider which hand and orientation of your hand when you're considering what loop is what. So if you actually take your right hand and look at it, okay, actually look at your palm face up like in the picture, your right hand. If you had a radial loop, it would look like the picture presented there. Okay, so you have to actually look at your hand and the orientation of your hand. So I have to tell you right or left hand and face up or face down. So right hand, face up. Look at your hand. Now look at the pattern. It starts on one side, it loops up, it comes back around, and exits the same side. That's a loop. This one is a radial loop because it's pointing to your thumb. Your radial bone, your radius, is on this side, is on your thumb side. So if you have a radial loop, it's going to go up, loop around, and it's pointing in the direction of the thumb. So it looks like this. Okay, so this is your thumb. Okay, that's my hand, sorry. Okay, so it's pointing up and towards the thumb, the radius. So it's a radial loop. On the flip side, if you still look at your right hand face up, now we have one where it is starting on one side, curling up, and exiting the same side. So it's still a loop, except this one is pointing this direction. So you kind of take this fat part of the loop and say, that's the arrow. Okay? So now this one is pointing this way towards the pinky. So the pinky side of your hand is, whoops, that was a crazy line there. The pinky side of your finger is where your ulna bone is. So if you look at your right hand, if you have a print that looks like this picture, in which the fat part of the loop is pointing away from your thumb towards your pinky, that's going to be an ulnar loop. So you actually have to note the hand and the positioning. Is it face down or face up? So loops can have one delta and one core, no matter the type. So you have to be able to identify the deltas in order to determine which type of main part it is. So the delta is right here. It's kind of like a triangle. So there's one delta. And then you also have this delta right here. One delta. Okay, so they always have one delta, kind of diagonal from the core. And then this core is generally in this area right here. This core is right here. So you just find the very center, and that's your core. And it should have one delta. So loops have one delta always and one core always. The delta in this picture is very far from the core. The delta in this picture is very close. So sometimes the delta is very far away. Doesn't mean it's not there. All right, then arches. An arch is a print pattern which the ridge pattern enters from one side of the finger, arches up, and exits the other side. So, like I said, find the center part, starts on one side, arches up, exits one side. This one starts on one side, arches up, exits different side. There's no lasso effect happening. there are two types of arches, a plain arch and a tented arch. A tented arch is very rare. Arches are not super popular to begin with, but a tented arch is very rare to have. So a plain arch is just where you have a gentle rise and fall. Kind of looks like a little hill or a little mountain. A gentle rise and fall. Plain arches do not have any deltas or chords. There's no triangular pattern happening here. It's just up and down. So the plain arch has no deltas, no chords. The tented arch is the same style. It enters one side and exits the other side, except it's much steeper. So you can see this steepness has increased in the arch. Because of that, you may have one delta, so like right here, you may have a delta, but sometimes you don't. Depends on how steep the arch is. Still no core. So it's just a much steeper arch. So those are the two types of arches. So looking at these side by side, let me get my pen out. So you can see a nice gentle rise and fall, gentle rise and fall. There's no arch, there's no delta. There's no delta, there's no core. This one still has that rise and fall, but it's much taller, much steeper. And because of that, you do have a delta right here. But you still do not have a core. No cores for arches. Maybe a delta. Okay, whorls. This is a print pattern that's generally circular. It depends on the type of whorl you're looking at, but generally circular in pattern. There's 4 types of whorls. You can have a plain whorl, which is the most popular type, a central pocket whorl, a double whorl or a double loop whorl, and an accidental whorl, which is very, very rare. So let's start with the easiest and most common first, a plain whorl. A plain whorl is very circular and makes at least one complete circle or circuit. So this is the most common type of whorl. Complete spiral, kind of like the tree trunks, rings in a tree trunk, or if you throw a stone into a pond, how it ripples out, that's what the plain whorl looks like. 2 deltas almost side by side across from each other, and 1 core. So if you look at this picture, you can see this very circular motion. It just keeps continuing, very circular. Same thing with this one, very much a circle, out and out and out. There's a delta here, and there's a delta here. So pretty straight from across from each other. And in this picture, there's a delta here, and there's a delta here. So almost exactly across from each other. So 2 deltas side by side across from each other, or very close to being side by side. The very circular shape is your plain whorl, and the core would be this very middle part right here, the very center of it. If you look at a central pocket whorl, you still have a circuit or a circle being formed, except there's a puckering. So this is not as common. So it's a complete spiral, but it's more of an oval or an almond shape. So notice, if you look at the very center, if you look at the very center of this, it's very circular, but the more you go out, you get this puckering. It's almost like an almond shape or an eye shape. That's a central pocket. It has 2 deltas, except the one's going to be very far to the side. So here's one delta, but the other delta is so far off to the side of the picture we can't see it. Same thing down here. One delta, the other one's whole way to the side. Notice that puckering shape once you get past the middle of it. And it still has a core, the very center right there. So central pockets are still circular, but puckered shape. One delta is very close to the main print. The other delta is way off to the side, but you do still have one core. A double whorl or a double loop whorl is basically when you have 2 loops merging together. It kind of makes a yin-yang shape. So you have a loop right here, and you have a loop right here, and they come together. So they could be like this format. They could be turned to the side. Once again, you have a loop right here, and you have a loop right here. So kind of a yin-yang. There's 2 deltas because each loop has a delta. So there's delta here and here. and there's a delta in this one here and here. So two deltas kind of close to each other. And you could possibly have two cores because each loop probably has one core. So definitely two deltas, probably two cores. You could also have it look something like, I know my drawing skills aren't the best, but you could have it look something like that. Okay, so up and down instead of side to side. That's a really bad example. Let me fix that for you. Try again. There we go. You could have something like that up and down instead of side to side like this one. Okay, and then the most rare type of fingerprint and the most rare whorl is the accidental. An accidental is just a combination of multiple patterns, but usually does not include a plain arch. Usually a lot of loops coming together. So you can see in this picture, there's 1, 2, 3 loops that kind of merge together. So it's hard to say what exactly an accidental whorl would look like because it depends on the specific person and type. Usually there's 2 or more deltas. Usually there's 2 or more cores. Depends on the situation. But kind of looks like a Mod Podge. So comparing them side by side, all 4. This is very centralized. Cores right here, a delta and a delta. The central pocket still has a core, except it's more puckered shaped. Kind of looks like an almond or an eye, sideways. 1 delta here. The other one is way over here. A double whorl or a double loop whorl has 2 loops merging together. So there's 1 loop. There's another loop. 2 deltas, 1 per loop, and potentially 2 cores. And then an accidental is just when you have some weird shape. Maybe you have something coming in from the bottom. You can't identify it as anything else. Usually 2 deltas and multiple cores. And that is our ridge pattern PowerPoint.